Hey, I'm Matt. Welcome to my podcast, The Imagining, a time to explore the imagination, creativity, and mental health. All of the conversations I'm having form part of the research for my new book. I hope that you have the opportunity during this time to discover something new about yourself. Man, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast with me.
That's okay.
You were on my original list of people when I wrote down a big long list of who would I love to have a conversation with on this podcast, and you were right there in the midst of the top 10.
That's lovely of you.
So this is really cool of you.
It's an honor.
We met via work, I guess.
We did.
You guys reached out to me as a filmmaker to work on something for your charity that you started. So let's just paint a picture about who you are a little bit, because I know you and I still don't fully understand
I don't think I understand myself sometimes.
Tell us, what is the kind of components that make up your life?
Wow. Okay, so my name is David Simmons, and I run a community organisation called Changing Lives, as well as run a football team for refugees called Changing Lives FC, and do loads of stuff within the community, run first aid, mental health, wellbeing. We've got 2 hubs in Essex, Harlow and Colchester. We have 15 staff now, and it's a growing organisation, and I'm now leading it, which for me is huge, because I never dreamt of leading or running an organisation that I just sort of, I don't know. I never imagined. I never imagined that my idea would lead to something quite big. And I think I always sort of pinch myself sometimes and think, wow, is this really happening? And you often have to, you don't get any training when you're a manager or a leader. You sort of often have to train yourself or adapt. And with that has come, with a few problems, issues that I've had to sort of manage. But doing something that you absolutely love is key. And I think that's what has driven Changing Lives as a whole, because it's something that I love. Yeah.
What were you imagining in the beginning then, when this lifestyle that you live now kicked off? What was the original ponderings, imaginings, and why did that imagining start?
Yeah, do you know what, right? So Changing Lives happened because something happened in my life where a 6-year-old threatened me with a knife. That's quite big. It's quite huge. It doesn't normally happen.
It's a bit of a strange one, isn't it?
It is a strange one.
I mean, what did you think in that moment?
I was like, oh wow.
That's a big knife.
Yes, it's a big knife, and a 6-year-old shouldn't be holding a knife and threatening me, saying they're going to kill me and stab me. And it shouldn't be happening in a school setting.
So this was in a school?
This was in a school. Yeah, this was in a school. It shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't, a child shouldn't have had a knife, etc. And it did, and it happened. And I guess that was an effect on how I saw things in life, and I wanted to act upon it. So I was literally just sitting in bed, and I was like, how can I make a difference? What can I do? Obviously, that child had done that to me. And it made me want to do something. But, I think it takes someone to actually do something and act upon it. And I said to myself, I must be put on this planet to do something. Right. There must be a reason as to why I'm here.
Yeah.
And I just went, do you know what? That's it. I've got to do something. I've got to act. Even if it's just a small little project or some activity, I want to do something. And that was it.
What was the original idea? Did you have how did that evolve?
The original thing was that, we was going to do sports activities. I was a PE teacher, and we was going to get them in and run educational workshops. So it wasn't anything sort of exciting. It was just something that I had a passion in, and I knew what to do. Like, it was quite a quick thing, and it's something that I could do the next day. And that was literally, I got my friend involved that I was working with, Ben. And I said to him, look, mate, let's crack on and just do something, let's make a difference. And then he was up for it. And then it just snowballed from there. And we got a bit of money from the council, and they loved it. And then it just kept growing and growing, and till the point where 6 years later, we've got 2 hubs, we've got 15 staff, we've had about 500,000 of funding, which is great, of grant funding, and I would like to grow even further. And we're running more projects, more than ever.
Than more than you could have thought of back in the
more
first
than I could have
day.
ever thought. And I've grown as a person, understanding a little bit more about myself.
Yeah, for sure. So I was listening to a book yesterday called Mind Shift, and the subtitle is "It Doesn't Take a Genius to Think Like a Genius." And this is maybe me implying that there's a bit of genius in you. But one of the chapters was basically about understanding what you perceive to be your ceiling, what you perceive to be the tippity top of where you could go. Do you feel like now or back then you were like, this is as much as I could achieve? Or did you always feel like, actually, you know what, the sky's the limit?
Yeah, like when I was sitting on my bed and I was like, I've got to do something. I didn't think I would be at this point, but now I think now that you can do anything. And recently, I think time is important, but also making sure you do something that you absolutely love and having a passion for. And I see no ceiling in the passion and desire of oneself. And
yeah, that's interesting actually, because I guess that it's less putting a ceiling on what you do, or the building a business, or how many people we employ, or starting a charity, or getting funding. It's really interesting that putting a ceiling on passion is almost like that's the fuel, I guess, for
absolutely
creativity that you've been out working.
Yeah.
What is the passion that drives it?
I guess is my family. My dad was my drive, my passion, my fuel. He and my mum were, so my mum's a nurse, my dad's a paramedic. I grew up in the background that they saved people and they helped people. That was their job. And I was, there was one time when I jumped in, Dad took me to school in the ambulance rapid response car, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I was like, Dad, can you just park there so people can see me come out of the ambulance?
Whoa!
And, yeah,
look at that G rolling in the ambulance.
And I was like, I don't need to be in a Porsche or a Range Rover, but I'm proud of my dad for saving people.
Yeah.
And I looked up to him and my mum, and they inspired me to be that person that doesn't need to have a ceiling. You don't need to have a ceiling to succeed. You just, I think, have to have the passion and desire to just keep on going. Right. And I think they played a massive part in who I am and what I do now.
Can you articulate that? Let's maybe go into that even further. Because, for instance, in my relationship with my family, I have a really amazing relationship with my parents, and I'm equally grateful, a bit like you. And I feel like so much of who I am is a gift from my parents. My thinking and the abstract and the divergent conversations that I'm interested in it's just like my dad. And my compassion, at least I think I'm compassionate, and my kindness and gentleness is a gift from my mum. Yeah. And I wonder if sometimes we underestimate that gift that parents, if you're lucky enough to consider yourself to have good parents that are deeply invested in your life. I know that you've recently experienced like great loss within your family. Has that made you ponder on them gifts even more?
Yeah. Losing my mother-in-law and then losing my dad, it felt like someone had ripped something out of me, and I was quite lost. And there was a time where I was struggling to find myself a little bit, because, having someone always behind you, always there, any problems you can speak to, he was, my dad especially, he was that passion behind me. He was the desire. He was the guy, the little guy that would always fight for everything. You know, he would battle hard, and that's where I got that drive from. And having that sort of ripped out of me was really difficult. It's quite raw talking about it now because it's still so recent. But I think it's important to talk about it because if you don't talk and you don't let it out, then it can sometimes just stay on your mind and maybe affect you later on in life. And I think it's really important that we appreciate those people that are around us. And, you know, I think we shouldn't take things for granted, for sure.
Yeah. And I think it's bizarre, actually, because whatever limited success that I've had in wherever it may be, I mean, some people might be like, no, there's no success to be found in that. But actually, so much of it is because of the people around me. Yeah. Rather than just what I've done. Obviously, I've tried to work hard and I've tried to play the smart game and the long game and them kind of things. But actually, having the safety net of a loving family behind you, which empowers you to take risks, is just so important in terms of creating something. And I'm not saying that there's obviously countless examples of people that don't have that, who still go on and do creative, beautiful, amazing things. But just the advantage of someone that loves you from day one is so hugely important and has made such a big difference in my life. And I just think I would be so lost without that. And actually one of the phrases that I've been workshopping for the book that I'm writing is about the relationship between courage and creativity. And it's basically, the idea is that everyone's creative, not everyone's courageous. So we all have lots of creative imaginings and ponderings, but it takes courage to bring them into the world. Which is why perhaps we say, we identify certain people as more creative and certain people as less creative, is basically the outworkings of courage rather than the outworkings of creativity. But actually, the reason that I identify that I have courage is just because I've got great people around me that have given me that courage to do that. And I guess that resonates deeply with your story. The other thing that we both have in common at the moment is that we've made that transition, or you're in the process of making that transition from not just being a son and a child, but becoming a dad. So what are the lessons in a way that you have been impacted by in the way that your family have parented you, that you're thinking that you're really going to push into?
Do you know what, right? It's a really strange feeling at the minute, because the baby could come at any time. Due date's the 2nd of Feb.
We could literally get a phone call literally
right now. And it's a crazy feeling that I'm going to be a dad. I'm going to be responsible for a little human, and then it's up to me to make sure that I am that person that my dad was to me, to that baby, you know. And it's my duty to ensure that, you know, my baby has the best start to life. And it's been a really strange process of finding out the news that Danielle's pregnant and that we're going to have a baby, to the ultimate grief of losing Danielle's mum and then my dad. We've also been moving house as well. And it's just been a very strange time to deal with everything and all the emotions. And now the new year has started, all the dust has sort of settled a little bit. And it's like, okay, wow, a baby is actually coming, and we need to start getting ready and prepped. And I started those NCT classes. I don't know if you went on to any of them.
I went through the NCT classes. And they tried to make me clean a doll.
Yes.
And I didn't like that.
It was like, I don't know. It was nice to sort of get that training in and everything like that. But I don't think any sort of training will get you ready for it until you're actually in it. You know?
I get you. So it's grit. I think the ultimate need and the skill, it's not really a skill, it's a character
Yeah.
thing, I guess, is that grit is, if you've got a bit of grit, that's all you need.
Yeah, that's great, because I feel like I've got a bit of grit in me.
Okay, you got some grit. You got nothing else, but you got grit.
That's all I need, I think. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that chapter in my life. You know,
Yeah.
There's been a lot of chapters, but this one particularly, I can't wait for.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's that bit of happiness I need at the minute to keep. Well, to be honest with you, it's kept us both going, having a baby there. But then the new chapter of the baby, you know, being with us is that new one that we need.
It's really interesting, and take this, you might find this encouraging or not encouraging. I'm not sure. But I remember when my baby was born literally 4 months ago. So, you know, same school year, our kids, and we both live in the same area. You still live in Chelmsford, right?
Yeah.
Like they could end up at the same school.
They could.
Boy or girl.
Not sure. Don't
Not
know.
sure,
Surprise.
so you don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember going into the hospital when it was happening and being really freaked out. But the thing that hit me the hardest was the emotions of watching someone you deeply care about go through like huge pain to bring someone else that you don't know, this baby who you've never met before, is coming into the world. And just as an encouragement, I remember on that day when Indy was born being really uncertain. I was a bit like, who the flip is this kid?
Yeah.
Like, who are you? You're a stranger.
Yeah.
And my wife just had to live through this fairly traumatic process. And I just want to encourage you that it actually took me a while to fall in love with my son.
Yeah.
It wasn't like an instantaneous
Yeah,
loving
yeah.
thing. So just, that's my one encouragement to you.
Yeah.
As you go into it, just give yourself time to let your emotions catch up with what's going on, especially given all the other stuff that's been happening. I think it's really interesting because we've spoken about both how families impact us in terms of us growing into creative and individuals that want to change the world, really. We've spoken about what it looks like to do it with your own children, but really a huge part of your life, as you've already said, has been trying to do it for a community with people that live in and amongst Essex, I guess. Let's speak about that a bit more, because really, I guess you're trying to gift people what your family gifted you when they haven't been gifted it by their own families. Does that resonate?
Yeah, for sure. And I guess that's another reason as to why I think there's so many different people out there, and it's really tough to, like, for me, you know, the primary reason as to why we started Change Live was to support children going down the wrong path. That has evidently grown to now supporting families that are on low income, that are on need to universal credit. We're now supporting refugees and asylum seekers. Things adapt and change, and as an organisation, we've had to adapt and change our ways of supporting people. And I think, you know, my parents loved me. I loved them. We often see that those children that don't have those role models growing up, like parents, suffer quite a lot because they don't have that person that they can speak to. They don't have that person that loves them or cuddles them or, you know, tells them that they love them, you know. And I think you see that in children when they don't have that, they struggle. And then later on in life, you know, we see them, they get referred into us with issues or getting in trouble because they don't have that person that they inspire to. They don't have that person that they look up to. So, you know, I guess I think I've lost your question, but I guess it's really important to have, you know, family there, your parents there. As an organisation, we've adapted quite a lot over the last 3 years now, where we're supporting a lot of different people in the community. A lot of community needs have changed due to, you know, lots of things that's happened. There's so much.
What do you kind of perceive as the key issues that need to be resolved within that world?
What within the community?
Yeah.
you got a food crisis. We're giving out free food to the community. We're giving out care packages. Mental health is on the rise due to COVID. There's still lots of children that need extra support.
And do you still draw that link from COVID, do you?
Yes, I think, the restrictions that people couldn't go out and go to school or see people or communicate, it's still tough. Social media has blown children's way of dealing with things. They just, on TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, they're always trying to compete with people that are not real people, unfortunately. I'm actually worried about my child growing up because there is so much, I think, negativity in the world.
Yeah.
I'm just one person trying to change a lot and help people, but unfortunately there's so much happening. You can't do it all.
Yeah.
So I am deeply concerned about my child growing up in today's world because it's unpleasant, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No news stories are good news stories, and it's getting tough out there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So mental health, food crisis.
Yeah.
Any others that you'd
I would say
identify?
well-being and physical activity.
Because there's been studies recently around child obesity.
Yeah, it's
and things like that.
Yeah, it's I would say it's increasing just due to, because it's the domino effect of what mental health does. Once the mental health side is that you don't really want to go out, you don't want to talk to people, you don't want to do exercise. That's the domino effect of physical activity. And then we do a lot of work with refugees and asylum seekers. And my support is that they are human beings.
Yeah.
And I guess if we're leading on to the refugees and asylum seeker community, is that we do a lot of work for them that often other people don't think we should be doing for them, which has led to a few things that have happened during our organisation, which there's no proven evidence, but our minibus was stolen and torched. We've had trolls and abusive language on social media. I've been attacked on social media because I supported refugees and asylum seekers. We run a football team and been racially abused. So that's probably one of the hardest things, is that you do a lot for the community, but there's some people within that community that don't support what you do.
That's just bizarre,
and
isn't
that
it?
is tough.
Why do you think that is?
I think the media put a very negative spin on refugees and asylum seekers, unfortunately. And
is any of that, just to get it clear, I'm a big supporter of your work, and I'm a big supporter of the way that we should welcome refugees and love them, because regardless, if you're trying to be a refugee here, regardless of whether there's a big war going on or it's some other crisis, people are in pain if they're fleeing to another country. Like, that's just, you don't do it by accident.
No.
Why do you think, or is there any truth in what the media are saying, and how do you distill that down into, this is helpful information about the refugee crisis and this is unhelpful profiling of refugees?
Yeah, I think the refugees that I work with are those that are seeking asylum and they want to come to a safe place. The media portray that it's all men, and do you know what? It may be all men, but for me, they are still human beings. There are still families that come over. Some are economic refugees, migrants. And the thing is, right, if I was in that position where they are seeing war, they're seeing conflict, they're seeing murders, what would you do? And for me, I would probably do the exact same thing. I would want to get to a safe country, or better still, if I can get to the UK, why would you not? If you could, you would, right? Surely.
Yeah.
I know people say, well, why do you not go to France or go to the other countries? And they do, but I think, UK, and, I think the UK government should be applauding themselves. People want to come to the UK.
Yeah.
Because it's a great place to come. And with all the laws that we have, we've got good protection laws.
Yeah.
And if I was in their shoes, I would probably do the same.
Yeah.
It probably might get me in trouble, but I would probably do the same.
But Yeah, I think you're right, and maybe you identify the most crucial point is putting the humanity back into them. I mean, even by simply categorizing people together as refugees, that's like a really negative. Straight away, you're just like, oh, you're a refugee. Grouping people together is exactly what I feel we've been trying not to do with all of Black Lives Matter and all of these other big movements of culture in terms of empowering people and recognizing people and loving people. But refugees, we're still kind of like, oh no, refugee, you go into refugee space. You go into refugee camp. It's
like all the deaths as well on the boats as well. Like they're just seen as numbers. When news portray it, it is seen as numbers, not as humans, and that's horrific. You know, it is tough. You know, and I'm always trying to support them in every way I can.
One of the key things that you have done is start a football club for refugees. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was approached by an organisation. There was a lady that was previously running it, but she was just getting overwhelmed by the amount of men coming to play for the team. So I then supported, and then we took over it as a Changing Lives football team. And my sort of straight away, I was like, we can take this team further up.
Right.
So they were previously in a Sunday league team. And
what does that mean? I don't understand football.
It's just like sort of a bit of fun, you know. Okay, and it's always it's a bit of fun.
Do people bring like knuckle dusters and stuff like that?
Probably, they probably do. But yeah, it can get a little bit.
Drink a pint before playing.
Yeah, they go to the pub and then they come play football, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you know they had a bit of a bad reputation,
right.
Because you know where they play football, they're a bit, you know. Firstly, some of them, you know, don't wear the correct footwear, don't know how to take throw-ins and all that sort of stuff. Right. It was all a bit offside rule was a bit tough to start off with, but they just love playing football.
Right. Okay.
You know, they love playing football. They love being part of a team, and that was really good. That was really great. And I've come in, and you know they started to do really well. And I think it's really important that you give them key, what's the word? Like a key code of conduct. Okay, that they follow. And very much like we were spoken about, sort of parents and stuff, they needed someone that they could look up to. And they often come by themselves over to the country. Some of them very young, and they needed that role model. And I think for me is that they now see me as that sort of role model that they look up to, where they talk to me about their feelings and, you know, whatnot. And I try and support them, not just through football, but however else I can, through mental health, wellbeing, food packages. And that has allowed us as a team to grow and develop. Like on our first season, we made it to the cup final, which was awesome. And now we are playing in a Saturday league, which is a greater standard, with the potential of potentially going to step 6, which is, you know, on the football league pyramid. And for us as a refugee club, that is unbelievable. And I think what the team has created as well is that, you know, we've been lucky enough to have great sponsorship deals with Fila, a currency exchange company, Remitly, and we've got a partnership with KitLocker. So having a refugee club and being the only competitive football club in the country to run and be as successful as we have has been great, because what we're now getting is other people contacting me saying, David, how do you do it? I would like to set up a football club in my area. Can you help us? Or, you know, what do you do? How do we get it going? And that's the domino effect that I want to see.
What's the next steps for you? What are you imagining for the growth of that? Yeah,
so for me, I would love to take it to the next level and go to tier 6. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as that. You need a proper sort of like football ground.
Right.
You need to win games. You need to be successful on a football pitch. But ultimately, it's the structure of the club, which is like stadium and all that sort of stuff, which is a little bit more difficult.
So you got to pin down a stadium.
Yeah, we've got to either share a stadium with another team potentially, and win matches to make sure that we're higher up in the league. But that
build your own.
or build our own. Yeah, you never know.
So you just need someone to give you a really flat field.
Yeah, flat field and loads of money would be great.
Flat field, well, you heard it here.
But yeah, that for Changing Lives FC, that would be the plan. And to be a refugee team going up would be awesome. And I've said this to a lot of people. There's a lot of talented players out there that are refugees, and there's a lot of English players that are refugees as well,
Right.
that have scored goals, won games that we don't appreciate.
Yeah.
Although they played for England, their parents might have come over from, as refugees, and there are top goal scorers. So there's a lot.
I guess it's part of the tapestry of English football.
Absolutely,
it's part of the tapestry, to be fair, of global football, isn't it?
Absolutely. Without refugees,
just look at, I don't fully understand the movement of borders and refugees, but even countries like France, you see the diversity of ethnicity behind a French football team.
Yeah.
People coming from all over the place.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing, I think.
Absolutely. And like the talent that we're seeing and that we're finding is fantastic. I guess there was one point I was just going to talk about, was that when refugees come over, I've met a lot of them that are teachers, engineers, and they're unable to work.
Right. So they're just blocked off.
They can't work until they get granted asylum and they've got their little pass to allow them to work, which could take nearly 6 months to a year.
Wow.
So we've got skilled workers out there that cannot work legally.
Right.
I think that is a massive problem in society, where we've got nurses, engineers, teachers, soldiers that are willing, that are wanting, are itching to provide
and invest.
They'll pay their taxes, all that sort of stuff. They want to work,
and especially we're really touching on good ground here. It's kind of like your standard at this point, especially post Brexit, where we're down on numbers of people coming in to fill up some of these like really important roles that we need for our economy to keep growing and for society to really benefit. This is a square peg in a square hole, really, to be receiving skilled workers from other places. The perceived weakness of the refugee crisis could be a real strength.
Absolutely. And I see it as a no-brainer, to be honest with you. Get these guys that are skilled into work. Yeah. And they're paying their taxes, which is a win-win for the government. They're helping our economy. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. That's and actually as well, it's the whole... I even had a conversation this week about... I was taking a photo in a classroom, and I was going to take some people out of the classrooms to take more photos. And it just so happened that the first person that I said, come through and take a photo was someone who was a black person. And the diversity pic. And I was like, that's really awkward.
Yeah.
But actually there's still, even for me, someone who I really, really want to figure out how we do this better.
Yeah.
It's no bad thing for our country to become more diverse.
Absolutely.
And we grow in our ability to communicate and think, and we really, really overcome this racial dilemma that we still keep finding ourselves in. It seems like no matter how hard we try, we still find ourselves consistently back in these awkward kind of, what do we do here?
Yeah.
Whereas more people, like the dilution of our whole culture being just way more mixed, I think is only going to lead to good things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I really don't perceive how that is a threat.
Yeah, I can't see it either, to be honest with you. It's for me, it's a no-brainer. I don't understand why there's not things in place where we can get them working with us and trained and supporting what we're doing as a country. It's a strange one.
But, gosh, you really work on the edge of some of these things, don't you?
Yeah.
The other thing that you're involved with, and this kind of feels like a real random part when you consider that you're in this real community space. You're involved in the recording of a TV show. How did that come about? What TV show is it? And, you know, that must just be really weird.
Yeah, it is weird to have the... Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. So it came about when Changing Lives was just sort of beginning, and I was like, how can I sort of potentially get more clicks and people to hear my voice about changing lives? I didn't really know too much about the show because the show hadn't aired before. It was a new show. The show's called Nation, and there's about 15 other people from the general public that go on, and we talk about the latest things that have happened in the country. So my belief was that I would be talking about potential knife crime or the community stuff. I was probably small-minded when, you know, Romesh Ranganathan is hosting it, and it's got a comical spin on it, which really wasn't sort of the angle that I initially
went in. It wasn't part
of
the initial plan.
It wasn't part of the initial plan. And I didn't actually think that I would ever make the show to begin with. We went through... So I did apply for it, and then we got a call back into London. There must have been about 5 rounds of auditions. Wow. It was intense. It was really tough.
Gosh, what were the auditions like?
Tough because there was lots of people. Right. You know, you see 15 people on the TV, but there must have been thousands that applied for it.
Really?
Yeah, it was tough.
And what did they do? Like sit you down in a room?
Yeah, sit us down in a room, and we had to redo sort of the show in London where we would just be how we was talking and stuff, and we'd be talking about subjects, and yeah, like, you know, we would just have a chat, and, you know, I didn't ever think that I would be sort of that interesting to be, but I think what nailed it was they said to me, one of the auditions, they said, "I'll tell us something different." And Danielle just recently bought me at that time a lordship title, and I was like, "Oh, I bet I'm gonna say it. I bet." I said, "Well, I'm actually a lord," and they were like, "No way, what?" So I spoke about that, and then, you know, they loved it.
That nailed it.
And I think that was it, really. I think I don't think it was actually me. I think it was just a lordship that I had.
They're like, we've got to have a lord.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, I made the cut, and I'm on the show. I've been on the show for the last 5 seasons. I don't know if there's going to be a 6 with all the BBC cuts. They haven't cancelled it officially.
Right.
But yeah, 5.
So wait and see again.
Wait and see. 5 series ain't too bad, to be honest with you. We'd done the first series in the studio, which was pretty cool. And then the 4 have been online due to COVID, and I think it has worked quite good during the COVID times, etc. And it's actually been BAFTA. It's been BAFTA nominated and won. So
do you get a BAFTA?
No, I don't. I wasn't even invited to London, unfortunately.
Unbelievable.
I know.
Oh, man, after all the hard work.
Yeah. But do you know what, right? So when I'd done the first series, I was like, do you know what? I don't think it's for me. I was like, this is probably not the angle that I want to go down, because I do such a serious job. And I was then like, do you know what? Actually, I really enjoy it. I enjoy just being me and just having fun, because I think that's what the show is. It brings out, you know, you have to be natural, you have to be you, and if you're not, then there's no point really going on it, to be honest with you. And my work is completely different, where I have to be this professional guy, and the show sort of allows me just to be me. And when we was doing the online stuff, there was like a piece where you do no trousers, and it's like, oh no, it's like, oh no, like my professional people are going to see me without any trousers on. But do you know what? I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do it. Like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. And it was good fun. And yeah, like it just brought out a different side to me where I could just relax. And especially during COVID times where it was really tough on people, it just got us, you know, going, you know, and it was good. It was good fun.
Have you seen any of the initial kind of things that you went into it for? have any of them almost by accident begun occurring? Like, has the profile with Changing Lives raised because of it, do you think?
I think people were interested. I think what was good is that the Lord Dave didn't give, people were interested in me. So they wanted to find out, what does Lord Dave do? So then more clicks came on to Changing Lives, which was great. And then we've had donations come through from people that watched the show. People are interested in the organisation. The followers I've had on Instagram and stuff like that, that people have given me good wishes to say, well done for what you do. So I think it has helped generally.
Yeah.
And then people have come to the hub and be like, oh, you're Lord Dave from the Ranga Nation and all that sort of stuff. So I don't think it's ever been a negative thing.
Yeah.
I think I've always seen it as a positive thing. Although my family, like you, are probably a bit confused as to, I've got this professional side to me, but I'm on a comical show with Romesh Ranganathan. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And
although I guess in some ways there's a beauty to that as well, isn't there? It speaks to both parts of you.
Yeah.
So we're made up of so many different elements, and actually, if you're working on what maybe we would deem as frontline work around some of the, the harsher bits of community and life, having an outlet which exercises and practices humor and comedy.
Definitely.
And actually, I think there's always been a relationship, hasn't there? If we look back across history, between comedy and the more brutal bits of life. And comedy seems to be a bit of a ailment to the brutality of
100%.
what life can throw at you.
Yeah.
So, comedians, anyone doing something funny for people to see, is part of that process as well, of seeing our communities become healthier. Yeah. Because, it could make someone's day. It could change someone's life. If someone laughs in an evening because of what they've seen on TV, that might be the one good thing that's happened to them that day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So credit to you as much for doing that, as much for making people laugh, even if it's trivial. By your sense, sometimes actually it plays as an important role within community as well. It sounds really bad to compare it to giving people food who need food, but both have their place and both are important.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can see your point. Yeah, for sure. I think comedy, humor, having that laugh during a very sort of, maybe potentially someone's had a very dark day, and just having a laugh is key, I think. And when I had my very busy days at work and I was rushing home to record, it gave me that sense of I can just sort of relax and just be me now. I can take off the cloak and just have fun and express myself, and that's what that show allowed me to do. No matter how many people said, "Oh, we're not too sure if you should be on it because of the job that you do," but I was happy and I felt really comfortable being on it. And the show were fantastic towards us as people. They protected us, and even if there was moments where I felt that, maybe I shouldn't have said that or done that. Yeah, they would speak to us about it, and they always had our best interests at heart, and they knew the work that I'd done as well. So if I didn't want to do something, or if there was something on there that was a little bit inappropriate, then I would tell them, and then they would cut it. So. Yeah,
that's really lovely to hear. Isn't it,
and I think a lot of shows out there like that sometimes don't have that. Yeah. But that show in particular, they always had the people on there at the best interest.
That's really good to hear, because you hear so much, don't you, about how unprotected some of these people that go on types of shows can become. And some of these shows, obviously Ranga Nation is very different from Love Island. But you do hear of countless scenarios where people working on TV sets have just been taken advantage of. So it's really great to hear that there's people out there that are looking after the well-being of the people that work for them.
Definitely.
That seems like a really positive.
It is important. And there was a strange situation where I was in Aldi and a lady took a picture of me buying Kinder Buenos, and then she put it on social media, and she was like, "Oh, I've just seen Lord Dave buying Kinder Buenos in Aldi or wherever." And I was like, that is weird. That's really weird.
Yeah.
And then I went to the production guys and I was like, what do I do about this? And she's like, that is just what happens, David. That's
all right.
That's
calm.
what it is. Just ignore it and just that's it. You know, I was like, oh, okay. But it's just, I guess that's what it is. People see you on TV and then they see you in a supermarket and then they just want to take a picture of you buying Kinder Buenos. It's a bit strange, but I guess that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, man, for sure. Right, leave us with one golden piece of advice for those that want to respond to what they see in the world.
Okay. I think if you see something or want to do something to change something, always have the mindset that it may not always work, but be true to yourself that what you're doing is for the good of it. People may not always believe in what you're doing, but if you believe in it yourself, then it can grow. You know, there are no boundaries. I think in your own imagination, you are the only person that can stop yourself from achieving.
Yeah.
And your imagination is key.
Yeah.
So just go for it.
Yeah, man. Don't let there be a ceiling for your passion.
Absolutely.
For sure, man. Where can people find you and keep up to date with Changing Lives and
so you can
Lives football team?
You can. We've got our social media handles: Changing Lives FC, Changing Lives Community Services on Twitter, Facebook. We've got a YouTube page as well. So if you just type in that will pop up.
Sick, man. Awesome. Thank you so much for having a good conversation with us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
I've learned loads about you. And,
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm sure that other people will be interested to see more of what you're doing, especially those football fans out there.
Need a stadium. I need a pitch.
Yeah, exactly. Stadium and a pitch. If anyone's
money.
got one hanging around, then we'll take a couple of million. It's fine. We'll put your little logo on a t-shirt if you want.
Yes, please.
You can have a little logo. Thank you so much for listening to the episode as well, everyone. And if you've enjoyed it, please subscribe wherever you're listening and follow us. And actually, I'd really appreciate if you left a review particularly on Spotify. That really helps me out. Leave a review, say amazing things, only if they're true. Don't say horrible things. That would be bad. Man, thanks for coming on, dude.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this episode of The Imagining. I hope that you've had the opportunity to discover something new about yourself. If you wouldn't mind and you enjoyed listening, then I would be really appreciative if you subscribed on whatever channel you're listening on.